on a almost sunny afternoon to talk about how we fight fascism. It is such a privilege to have Ece Temelkuran back with us today. I have been a huge fan of her work, both her incredible fiction and the way she writes with such heart and internationalism and sensitivity to this moment that we're living in that makes us feel hard and makes us want to give up, and also gives us a sense that if we did, it really would collapse. So I'm just going to read a little introduction to this very eminent speaker, and then we've got 30 minutes of hearing from her about her work. And then if you need to run to a Fringe show at the 30-minute mark, like, no hard feelings, this is what Book Fringe is all about. If you are in the other room and you're listening in and you want to join us, come on in and out as you need. And then after the 30 minutes, we've got about 15 minutes where you can ask your questions, including anyone who is watching online. So with us today, we have an award-winning Turkish writer, political thinker, and public speaker whose work has been published worldwide. Her novels, Women Who Blow on Knots and Time of Mute Swans, have been published in several languages and adapted to the stage. Temelkuran's two political essays, Deep Mountain Across the Armenian Turkish Divide and Turkey, the Insane and Melancholy, explore the connection between the personal and political. After she left her country in 2016, she began writing in English. Her first book in the language, How to Lose a Country, received international praise. Her second, Together, offers a way out of the political and moral insanity that is ushered by the global rise of fascism. She has lived in Beirut, Tunis, Oxford, Paris, and Zagreb, and she is currently based in Berlin on the advisory board of Progressive International and DemocracyNext. Will you join me in welcoming today's speaker?
Thank you. Hello again. It is weird to be here because there is a lot going outside, and I feel like I'm in a hard competition, and I feel like I should do some sort of stand-up. But fascism stand-up doesn't go together well. Thank you for coming. I came here yesterday from Greece, from a very, very sunny Athens. It's very cold here, but also since yesterday I was thinking, like, this is a place where you don't feel what's going on. It's like this carnival, this enthusiasm, joy, and everybody looks so free, so, I don't know, elated and so on. And in Athens, I was already thinking while looking at the people vacationing, like, it is so easy to, just forget about what's happening, to dismiss what's happening in the world, especially Gaza, and so on. And I think this is the main moral problem of our age. How do we go on? Does life go on? Should we move on? And so on. And in Edinburgh, the question becomes more, really, really clear, because there's the carnival. You can join the carnival. You can avoid the carnival, you can think about Gaza, you can do nothing, and so on. It is this moral question, since yesterday especially, it has been on my mind, and I wanted to start with that. I'm here to talk about both books, I guess. How to Lose a Country, 7 Steps from Democracy to Fascism, and Together, a Manifesto Against a Heartless World. For those who do not know my story, I was a political writer in Turkey. I was a columnist, and I also wrote books, novels, and so on and so forth. But as you might know, there is a dictatorship in Turkey, and after 2016, I left my country, like many people did. And I started writing in English, so that I could tell what's happening in Turkey was going to happen in other countries as well. So I started writing How to Lose a Country. It was published in 2019. It was published in Britain and then several other countries as well. What happened in 2019 was that, not necessarily this part of the world, but in Britain and in several other places in the United States and in European countries, fascism, not under the title and brand of fascism perhaps, but under the title of right-wing populism, authoritarianism, and so on. It was on the rise, but it took quite many years for the Western world, especially United States and Britain, to recognize that it is fascism. From 2016, when I left Turkey, when I started giving speeches about global rise of fascism, the main problem was, first, I had curly hair. Second, I had an accent. Third, I wasn't stamped, approved by a, Western education institution like Oxford and so on. And fourth, all these things that I was talking about, what was mainly happening in Turkey. So many people in the Western world thought that, oh, this is one of those things, that happens in crazy countries. Of course, it's a Muslim country, it is quote unquote underdeveloped and so on. We are a Christian country, and by the way, I heard this being said, so I'm telling it. We are a Christian community, we are developed countries, the democracy is quite matured in our country, so nothing would happen to us. So especially Western European countries and the United States couldn't see what's happening. And then it took another few years for them to acknowledge, to come to terms with the fact that this is fascism. Here's a funny fact about How to Lose a Country. When How to Lose a Country was published in Britain in 2019, in several other European countries, in each country and in each publishing house, I had this debate about the subtitle. The former subtitle of that book was 7 Steps from Democracy to Dictatorship. Every editor in Europe rejected the word fascism, especially Germans. Germans are quite jealous about the brand fascism. And British were like, what fascism? So after many years, now it's republished with the new subtitle Fascism, and that I think tells a lot about what has happened in Europe in terms of acknowledging the reality, in terms of having the guts to call the spade a spade. So after How to Lose a Country, I went around the world, literally, I think 2 times, to talk about fascism and why it's happening on a global level, why it's going to come for all of us, and how it is actually embedded in neoliberalism. And there is no way, there is nowhere to run to escape from this global fascism. So I was going around the world like a Cassandra, telling people that it's coming to you. I must have been quite convincing, so I depressed a lot of audiences around the world. One of the interesting phenomena that happened during those talks, and I talked a lot really, was that every time I finished a talk, there was this one and this was always the case. The first question was, where is hope? I don't know how many times I've been asked this question after proving that fascism is embedded, inherently intrinsic to this system. After telling them that it is happening already, it's just that you don't see it, blah blah blah. After I created that mood, so to speak, coming to terms with the reality mood, the first question has always been about hope. And so many times it happened that in the end, I became a little bit angry actually. Like, what do you want me to say? Well, shall I just produce hope for you now? And then there was this interesting sense in the air whenever somebody asked about the hope, about, where is hope? And it was as if when the question is asked, before I answer, there's this tiny bit of silence. And that fabric of silence was so different than normal silence of listening. It was a lead-heavy silence. And it was already telling me, that kind of silence was already telling me that we lost. There's no hope, actually. So everybody's like holding their breath and expecting me to say something absolutely magical. or just crack a joke like Brits would do, so everything is back to normal. So that change of fabric, of silence, made me think that there is something wrong with the word hope. And today, many people are still asking me about hope. And that is why I actually wrote together. Yes, How to Lose a Country tells you that fascism is global. It's going to go everywhere. It's going to spread around the world. It will cover not only the real lens in real term, but also it will kind of abduct our minds and hearts as well. And it will happen in 7 steps, which are global patterns of rise of fascism in each country where there is fascism. You can see those 7 steps. So it is there. But then how to fight against it, people always think that it begins with hope. It doesn't begin with hope. And this is what I understood between writing How to Lose a Country, talking about How to Lose a Country, and starting to write together. As much as, when you think about hope, one thing you understand, first of all, you understand hope is the word that calls immediately for hopelessness. When you start asking about hope, there is a good chance that everybody is hopeless. Second, hope is a very fragile word, and we are living in very, very harsh times, so we need another word. This is what I was thinking. And also, asking for hope is already being defeated. That means that you are not producing hope. You are asking for it. So I started thinking, like, what is that thing that we fail to have today, which we had before 1980s? Nobody was asking about hope in 1960s, 1970s, when there was organized political action. They were doing what they had to do. Nobody really asked for hope, a motivation, or finishing something like this, a talk on a nice note, or let's not get too depressed. There were no such things before 1980. So what happened in 1980s or after 1960s, 70s? This is what I thought about, and I came to understand that what we lack is faith. Faith is, of course, it's a word that has been monopolized for religion for thousands of years, so we tend to forget that it is not a religious word. It's not a religious concept in itself. It can be political faith, it can be moral faith, it can be secular faith. So what I understood after writing How to Lose a Country, and after going around the world listening to audiences, actually, and the silence of audiences, I understood that we are lacking faith. We don't believe in ourselves anymore. We don't believe in each other anymore. We don't trust in each other anymore. And this is not our, individually, we don't get up in the morning and say that, like, humans suck. No, this, they are not trustworthy. They are not, they do not deserve to sacrifice, for me to sacrifice myself, and so on. These ideas, the sense of humanity has been, kind of injected to us through neoliberalism. And this is the core of our failure, if we can speak of failure, our failure when fighting against fascism. We don't really believe. Since we don't really believe that we can win against it, actually, we are already a little bit defeated. We don't believe in ourselves, we don't believe in the other people, and we don't think that humanity is worthy of sacrificing ourselves, which was very present in 1960s and 70s. So this idea of humanity, this is where I, kind of continued to think towards this direction. So there must be something wrong with our understanding of humans, because humans did not necessarily change in like 5 decades or 6 decades. Our understanding of humans must have changed. How did it change? And this is my, my understanding of things. It changed because neoliberalism has made us believe it is a fundamental definition of human. What is human according to neoliberal ideology? Human is a selfish, self-centered, egotistical bastard. It's dirty. It's disposable. It doesn't mean anything if it doesn't have a, good price tag on it. So we, knowingly or without knowingly, somehow got under the influence of this main definition, so that we ended up thinking that, oh, these crowds, they do not need fighting for. Of course, these crowds, they're ignorant. Of course they would want a dictator. Of course they don't know what they're choosing. Of course they're like, they will destroy the world in the end. So this main definition of neoliberalism made us lose our faith in ourselves and in others. And that is the reason why we don't have a strong political action today. I am making it very rough, connections, but this was the core of my thinking when I was writing together. And then I started thinking about other concepts. Faith was one first of them, but then I started thinking about dignity, about love. Like faith, love is also a word which has been monopolized by religion so much so that, we talk about it, but it's not easy to talk about love without a smirk. It's either New Age gurus or like religious clergymen or whatever. Those people speak about love with, self-assuredness, but we speak about love like, but these are the concepts that we have to think about, and these are the concepts that we have to talk about, I think. Love, faith, dignity. And there are several other concepts, 10 concepts in the book that I try to tell through that it is not only a political action that will change the world or that will save us, but actually we have to change from within. A political revolution, another word that we cannot not smirk when using. No, it's okay, don't worry. Nice music, man. These are the, a political revolution, or working even for that revolution with absolute conviction, doesn't really help if we do not have a moral revolution. We are going through some really profound change right now in the world, and it's impossible to go against this change, imposed change, if we do not have absolute moral conviction. This is why I wrote together, because many people still, unfortunately, think that, we are losing our democracies, so shall we just organize another panel about democracy so everything will be better? Or they are thinking that another book written about democracy in this absolutely inaccessible language will change something in the world today. Or, shall we just come together, make a declaration about how we are afraid of loss of democracy, so people know about it. These things, although they are of course not bad, we should also do those things, but these things cannot be the answer to the profound problem of our age, which I think is the loss of faith in humankind. We were, made to lose our faith in humankind, and that's why we ended up here with fascism, with Gaza. I cannot not tell something about Gaza. I'm using every opportunity to talk about Gaza. Gaza, as you probably know, since you came to such a talk, since you're sitting and there's sun outside here, So you already probably know that Gaza is everywhere. And every country is producing its Gaza right now. Gaza is a moral experiment. It's not only killing thousands and thousands of children before our eyes, but also it is a moral experiment to see how much humanity can swallow today. It is to show us that neoliberal understanding of humans that I mentioned earlier, like there are some disposables and there are some like real humans, that understanding that human of neoliberalism now made us think that, yeah, Gaza can happen, it will be over soon, and then perhaps things will be better. The thing is, this is the moral test. One, Gaza will not stop. Gaza will not stop in Gaza. Scotland, Britain, France, United States will have their own Gazans. And the other day, I don't know if you're following that, Donald Trump said that Washington is a dirty place, it has to be cleaned, and he was thinking about homeless people and so on. So homeless people will be the Gazans of America. Refugees in Europe will be the Gazans of Europe. And they will become as disposable as the Gaza kids dying today. So we are every day trying to pass this moral test. Millions and millions of people I know that are around the world, either they're on the streets and off the streets, silently or shouting, they're trying to stop this from happening. Not only, kids in Gaza dying, but also trying to keep themselves humane. And I think they are the ones who still have some faith in themselves and in humanity. After writing How to Lose a Country, I was absolutely disappointed. I've been a journalist since I'm 19, and I've been to war zones, and I did journalism in the Middle East, in the horrible places. I've seen so many horrible things, but I still had this, one might call it naive understanding of humanity. Or maybe I wanted to believe that if they knew, if only they knew, they could act differently. That's why I wrote How to Lose a Country, so that the Westerners will know, so they will know that global fascism requires global solidarity. So, we are exhausted in Turkey and in such countries, but Western societies have the stamina yet to fight against fascism. So our experience, their stamina, it will come together. We are going to build a global alliance against fascism and so on. Nada happened, of course, because that's the thing about humans. It doesn't work like that. Yes, they can do stupid things, even they know better. So I kind of lost my faith in humans after a few years. How to Lose a Country was published. I saw that they're still playing the game. They're still imitating their old selves. They're still pretending that there is democracy. They're still pretending that, nothing is happening in their country. So I wrote together to have faith, to refresh my faith in humankind. The reason I'm telling you this, after Gaza, I'm almost sure that many of us have lost faith in humankind. Because we know what's happening, we see it every day, and yet we cannot do anything, we cannot stop it. So the only way to refresh our faith in ourselves and in humankind is to think and to talk about the beautiful things. When I say beautiful things, I mean faith, dignity, friendship, love, and so on and so forth. Because, all these beautiful things that we have, that we own as humankind, if you look at them rather than staring into darkness, we can still remember that we are beautiful and the others can be beautiful as well. So I wrote together to remind that beauty of humans to myself and to you, basically. And I think we are living in a time, we have a time that it's very easy to forget that we're beautiful. And I think we all need that, because that is the core motivation of any political action. We're doing this because we are beautiful. We're doing this because the others are beautiful. We can be really beautiful together. That is the philosophical core of political action. And without that philosophical core, it is just theatrics. Politics is just theatrics. So this is all from me. And if you want to say something, I'd love to hear that.
There are a couple of questions online, but while you guys have your thinking caps on, I wanted to ask you about beauty and about care and visibility. And I think when I look at this moment where, for instance, our government has prescribed Palestine action, they offered a very visible sign of what we can do as citizens as sacrifice, as showing up, as acts of care. And that visibility is dangerous. This idea that any citizen can see that another citizen can make a choice, can have agency to act against mechanisms of war. And I wonder how you see that visibility, how you see the importance. You write in the book about attention, you write a book. How do we make sure that the beauty, that the care, that the showing up remains visible when the state is very invested in making it invisible?
There's this one word you use, and that is, I think something that unlocks everything: agency. In the new preface of Together, I did something quite unconventional, I could say. And I talked about defeat. And I said, let's accept it, we are defeated. Nobody gives a shit about us. Nobody gives, you are not accounted for, you don't count. There is a radical loss of agency. I mean, there might be several political institutions that can make you believe otherwise, or trying to make you believe otherwise, such as voting and this and that. But actually we are going through, in the modern world, an unknown, unmatched level of loss of agency, which I call radical loss of agency. And this is defeat. People do not want to hear such words because they want to hear victory, we're going to win, we're going to prevail. No, actually, probably we won't for a very long time. The thing is, this idea of this sense or the acknowledgement of defeat should liberate us. We have not much to lose, really. So that liberation should free us from what is allowed, what can be done, all those, old school calculations of strategy and so on. No, you don't count, so you can shout as much as you want. You can shout louder because they're not listening to you. Or you can whisper it to another person to get connected, to get organized. That defeat and the idea of accepting the defeat feels so liberating, so, I don't know, beautiful to me. And I think we should all feel that. We are defeated, so we're free to do what we want. It's like you can be a hero now. It's a lovely time. I seriously believe this. The thing is, the rejection of defeat creates such an illusion that we drag our own habits, political habits. And there is an arrogance to it. And because the arrogance is that you really still think that you count. You really still think that, they're listening to me. I mean something as a citizen and so on. No, to be honest, we are the lost citizens. There won't be citizens anymore. It will be more feudal kind of world. But this should free us from dragging the old ways and the theatrics of the old ways. It's over. So let's really do something. This gives me a sense of realness. Because the other, this illusion of everything is the same, we can go back to the old ways, we can, everything will be back to normal when Trump is gone. Everything will be back to normal when Gaza is over. No, it won't be over. It won't be, there won't be the old world anymore. So it's going to be, we are naked beings. So the only thing we can do is to connect to each other and be in solidarity, not because it's a nice word, not because it's politically correct, because we have to survive together. So defeat is important. And I think it is a very victorious word in the sense of it will make us stronger. It will make us free in our minds. And it will, most importantly, I think, it will make us love each other more. I'm a hardcore political writer, so it's not easy for me to talk about love and not go like roll my eyes and so on. But actually, one of the things I try to do in Together, and I hope you'll find it meaningful, is to take back these words, especially love, from the realm of religion to the realm, and to bring it to the realm of politics. Because I think we need it. For several reasons we need love, to talk about love and be serious about love. Because we have to survive.
There's another question online.
As if she has a question.
So Joy online asked, can you talk about the difference between power and strength that you touch on in the book, and if that is born of feminist theory?
I don't want to spoil the whole book. Yeah, there is a chapter about power, the difference between power and strength. My editors tell me that I'm not selling books in these talks because I'm talking too much. It's a lovely chapter. You'll love it when you read it. This chapter came to me when I was doing some physical work. And what I realized that what my favorite, I guess there are such mundane things in this book as well. My favorite exercise is plank. Do you know what plank is? Does everybody know what plank is? There is one person. It's like you stand on your arms and on your on your toes, and then you just stand. It's about endurance. It's a thing about endurance. You don't move. You don't show power. It's about endurance. And endurance is about strength, not power. And what we will need in coming years, today and in coming years, will be endurance. Endurance to stay humane in the face of inhumanity, and to encourage each other to stay humane, to help each other to stay humane. So endurance is about strength, and endurance, I think, is a very, very female concept. And as an answer to the question, yes, it comes from the feminist theory, that idea of we don't have to be powerful, we have to be strong. That comes from the feminist theory. Well, not theory necessarily, but feminist understanding of the world.
Any questions in the room? Don't be shy.
You can also say how depressed you are. I think you feel. Yeah.
Yes. One there.
Please.
Hi, so I'm a high school teacher. I teach English, and what I'm thinking about as you talk is how can I work with my students to reclaim like love and faith, and we use story a lot and moments in time. So I'm just curious about if there are particular stories or people or collective struggles that I might not know about that you think would be good for teachers to use
Both books have little stories because I am such a political writer. I don't do concepts and lingo and so on. I do stories and very very daily stories. Some of them are from daily life, some of them are from history and so on. And I do believe in the strength of story. I mean, like it's a very lame thing to say, but actually it is true. And one of the stories in the book is from times of Holocaust. It's a story that my Dutch editor told me. It's her grandmother and her grandfather met in concentration camp, and the guy fell in love with the girl, and then he didn't have anything. He had this very very rotten miniature cabbage, so he stuck it on a stick, and then he gave the girl this cabbage, and then they were in love. Lovely story, because when you look at it, it's funny, but what makes a person believe that a rotten cabbage is a rose? That's an important question, because it's about beauty and about endurance, about encouraging each other to be beautiful, about encouraging each other to see the beautiful in life when there is nothing beautiful, which we need very very much. Now this is it's not a Holocaust story, but it happened then. You can find a story, similar stories every day. Let's go out. In half an hour I can show you 3 stories like this. Like people doing something beautiful for each other. Of course there's a political context to it. Of course there is political beauty. Absolutely. We see it every day. Because of Gaza, so many things are happening. Of course you see the police violence in Germany or in other places and so on. But also, between those things, if you were there physically, you would see the crystallization of human beauty as well. Times of crisis are like that. You see the worst of humanity and the best of humanity. So, street today is a war. Any street in the world. So, there is a crisis. So, every day we see the crystallization of beauty and the ugly. So, maybe a homework could be, if I was a high school student, teacher, of course, I wish I was. It's an incredibly difficult job to find those stories. Like, what is beautiful? What is beautiful about people? Like, tell me, go look at the, street, like life, whatever. Tell me a story from a stranger that makes you, like, humans are good. In the first instance, this might not sound as political, but it's very, very political, I think.
Got 2 more online. People are being shy. One is from
Maybe they're not, maybe just...
Paul Smart asks, is fascism the logical outcome of capitalism and its view of nature as selfish and individualist? And if so, should we be challenging capitalism and promoting an alternative socio-economic system?
Of course. Yes, to every one of that. Yeah, this is what I tried to explain earlier very, very fast and very roughly, but yes, fascism is embedded in neoliberalism, both ideologically and historically. So, there's this rewriting of history of 1940s and 50s, as if, in the Second World War, fascism was defeated and it was buried in the battlefield, and then we had this lovely new, order of the world called capitalism. Everything is free. So, one, there cannot be fascism when there's free market economy. Second, this was a famous motto in 1990s. If 2 countries had McDonald's, they couldn't get in a war. Such rewriting history was so strong that capitalism kind of made itself into natural order of things. It made us forget that it's an ideology. neoliberalism especially. And many generations have grown up thinking that, oh, it's normal, natural order of things, whereas it's an ideology. And by the way, yes, historically, Nazis were involved in the creation of this ideology, in this new world order. So yes, it has to be challenged. Absolutely. And it has to be challenged morally as well. That's why I keep saying, beauty is important, because neoliberalism made us forget the beauty of humankind by imposing on us its definition of humans as self-centered, selfish bastards. Yeah, I think we're done. I think now everybody wants to go out and.
I've got one more burning one online then, and then afterwards we can do a signing, and if you're too shy to ask a question, you can come to the front room. So this one's just from Kojo. Do you see a difference between comradeship and friendship? How do we build loving, caring bonds with people we might actually find very hard to be around, work with, or even like?
I know. I know. That's why one of the chapters is friendship. I think the person who, asked the question might have read the book. Friendship is a very, very old concept in philosophy. It goes back to Aristotle, Spinoza, then Simone Weil, and Hannah Arendt, and then I kind of took the ball and tried to carry it to 21st century politics. And it's because I wanted to speak of love a little bit, love of people, love of humans. I think in today's, or last 20 years, 2 decades, the political action have been so exhausted by extreme identity politics, but also this attitude of, are you good enough? Are you good enough? Are you politically correct enough? Are you this testing each other all the time and creating this pressure? And it kind of squeezed people into, it cornered people into a place where there is no love anymore. As if we forgot why we are in this political action in the first place. So when I say we don't trust each other anymore, we don't have faith in each other anymore, I also mean the zeitgeist, small-scale zeitgeist in the political milieu. So instead of comradeship, which sounds very, retro, I think we should think about friendship without fearing that it sounds too mushy. Because friendship, as I said, is a old philosophical concept that for centuries and centuries people have been thinking about, and the sense of survival, I think, should give us, make us feel the urgency of that friendship. That it's not a just any political action that we have to do together with, but actually we have to survive, not only physically survive, but mentally and spiritually and psychologically, emotionally. So friendship is necessary for many things, but one of them is to keep us intact as humans. And we can think of our political connections as friendships. And when we do that, it already opens up the space for being more compassionate and caring and more humble, which is the most important word nowadays that I'm thinking. We need a lot of humility, and friendship can, kind of lay out that space where there can be humility.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's all we have time for. Will you all join me in saying a very big thank you to Ece Temelkuran?
Thank you everyone for coming here. Pleasure.